Hi, welcome to the pilot episode of Cooking with the Osters. I'm filming this to work on all the kinks. Today, we're going to be making 3-ingredient buttermilk biscuits. Follow along. To make our biscuits today, we're going to be using 3 different items: self-rising flour, cultured buttermilk, and a stick of butter. If you can't get your hands on self-rising flour, that's okay. We can usually just add in a little bit of baking soda and baking powder, but try to go for the self-rising if you can. First things first, you want to go ahead and measure out 3 cups of self-rising flour. Now, the bag says pre-sifted, but we're going to wind up sifting it ourselves anyway. That's 3.5. I'm going to go ahead and go with it. Next thing is 1.5 cups of cultured buttermilk. Next up, we need to cut our stick of butter into 6 tablespoons. This is going to go into your biscuits. We're going to melt this for later. We want to make sure the butter is super cold, so for the time being, I'm sticking it back in the refrigerator. Now, to get things started, we're going to sift the flour about 1 cup at a time. Make sure to get this flour nice and airy. Alright, that's looking pretty good. The next step is to cut butter into your flour. Some people like to use what's called a pastry knife to do this, and there are a lot of different people who have a lot of different opinions. I've personally found the best way to do this is to simply use a cheese grater. Gives you nice, even slices, and it doesn't make the butter heat up too much. Last but not least, we're going to go ahead and add in our buttermilk. Now, I'm using my KitchenAid mixer. You could go ahead and do this by hand, but I find you just get better, more consistent results when you've got some power behind you. One rule to biscuit making is you don't want to over mix the batter. So I'm starting on low. Now, if you can see, the dough is just starting to come together. It's just starting to pull off from the bottom of the pan. So I'm going to go ahead and stop this. Knead the rest by hand. Make sure you get all that flour in at the bottom. It should feel tacky, but not impossible to work with. That's looking good. The next step is we're going to go ahead and preheat our ovens to 375. We'll turn that up to 400 a little bit later on, but for now, let's get it up to 375. While the oven's preheating, we're going to go ahead and prepare our surface. I like to use this wooden pizza peel. It keeps my counters clean and it's easy to work with. Just use a little bit of flour. You can use your self-rising if you have it, but regular flour will be fine. We'll go ahead and remove our biscuit dough. Now again, it's pretty loose, right? We don't want to do too much to it. I want to go ahead and work it out into a rectangular shape. Then we're going to fold it over. Turn it, repeat the process. You know those commercials where you see the Grand's biscuits, the biscuits in a can, they talk about all of the layers that they've got. This is what's going to make those layers. Just repeated turning, flattening, and folding. I'm going to do this several times. It's starting to give me some give, but I like my biscuits to be flaky. See all these layers are forming right here? Start to flatten that out. I think that's about as much as I'm going to be able to get out of this. Before we start cutting, let's go ahead and grease up our pan. I like to use a glass 9x12. using my biscuit cutters. And if you don't have these, you can use a cup or a glass. It's important to try to go straight down. Give it a small twist and remove the excess. You want a nice clean cut so it'll get a good rise. Looks beautiful. Went ahead and placed that in my baking pan, and I'm going to go ahead and try to get right over the edge as many biscuits out of this cut as I can. This recipe usually gives me about 6 to 8 large biscuits. I don't know if I'm able to do much with this, so let's roll it out. A little bit of flour. Fold it over one more time. I think I can get 2 more out of this. Alright, with our oven preheated, we're going to go ahead and put these in. I'm going to set a timer here for 15 minutes. While we're waiting on the biscuits to cook, I'm going to go ahead and take that last 2 ounces of butter, let it set aside in a bowl. Actually pop it into the microwave for just about 30 seconds. We'll let that go ahead and melt up, and we'll use that to brush on top of our biscuits when they come out. Alright, we're right at about 15 minutes here. So what I'm going to do is pull these out. They're looking good. We're just going to brush a little bit of this butter right on the top. Those are going to go back into the oven for 10 more minutes, but I'm going to set the temperature to 400. Alright, we've got about 2 minutes left. Let's take a look at these and see where they're at. I'm going to go ahead and let them sit for the next 2 minutes. The color is starting to look good. Just what I was looking for. A nice golden brown top. Butter sizzling on the pan a little bit. Now you're going to want to let these sit for about 2 to 3 minutes. Let them go ahead and cool down. But I'm not going to listen to my own advice. So I want to show you just how flaky and delicious that's going to look. These biscuits will be a great addition to your next brunch or family gathering, or we like to serve them up with fried chicken or other sandwiches. You can also just eat them with a little bit of butter. If you enjoyed this video, please click like and subscribe. Click the notification bell, and let us know what else you'd like to see in the comments.